30 years since you won your first Classic in Irish Oaks back in 83, and you've never won the English 2000 Guineas yet, but I heard you say earlier on you haven't had that many runners in it.
No, very few, and sure, his sire, New Approach, was only, it was a bob at the head at the line, so I mean, from an experience point of view and preparing one for it, it was almost as good as a win. But I'm not overawed by the task, so hopefully everything will work out well on the day.
And is it on the Jim Bolger to-do list to get a 2000 Guineas? Is that something you've always wanted, or?
I'll take it if and when it comes, but I won't be beating myself up about it.
And we can never forget Aidan, as you said earlier on. I think he's 6 left in the race. Any whispers coming from over the counties from Ballydoyle? Have you heard anything, or does it worry, or do you think it that far?
Well, I talk to Aidan regularly, as you can imagine, at the races and that, and I know that he's very excited about his Henry the Navigator coals.
Christopher Colombo,
and, yeah, and he has 3 of them there, and he expects those to show a nice improvement from last year, and stepping up to a mile he thinks will help them as well. So whatever he runs won't be easy to beat, that's for certain.
And one thing you have in your favour, if it does come up soft at Newmarket, it probably won't inconvenience your lad as much as it may others.
I don't think so. No, he's handled soft ground before, so and you know, he's a very strong horse, and I'm sure he'll get a mile very well. So I don't think ground on the soft side would bother him all that much. And
you couldn't be happier with him?
I'm very happy with him.
Okay, you have 3 other in the Guineas at the moment. I don't know if there's certain runners later more who followed Home Dawn approaching the Dewhurst. How's he?
He's well. He had a run at Nace over 5, and I'd say that blew the cobwebs away. And his target is the French Guineas. But in the unlikely event of us not seeing where there might be some pace at Newmarket, he could run there, but he's more likely to go straight to France than he is to run at Newmarket. But because Aidan usually ensures there's plenty of pace in those races anyway, so it's not so much that we need plenty of pace, but we'd like a true run race. But
okay.
I'd say that will be in everybody's interest.
You've got Trading Leather, who won a Group 3 last year. I think it was at Newmarket, and then you ran him in the Racing Post after that, Doncaster.
Yeah, the ground came up soft there, and probably shouldn't have run him. He makes no attempt at handling soft ground, but he's quite effective on the faster ground. So he'll have a choice between Leopardstown and some of the Derby trials in England, and there'd be a small possibility that he might line up for the 2000 Guineas at the Curragh, but I'm viewing him more as a middle distance horse.
And we could see him in the Derrenstown. That's one of the options.
You could do, yeah, but more than likely that race will be for Loch Gorman.
Okay, well that's my next question. Loch Gorman, the aptly named Loch Gorman. Is it a coincidence that he's named in the Gaelic for your home county of Wexford? Well,
I think, without boasting, he's probably the best looking 3-year-old colt that you'll see at the races in 2013, and he was always a bit of a standout, so I thought that it was a good time to go with the name Loch Gorman. So hopefully, well, so far he has lived up to it, and I'm sure he'll continue to do that.
Was that a name you were holding out for a good one? Because I remember with the Camelot story, I think it was Sue Magner that said they had Camelot, that name reserved for years until a good one came, and naturally enough he did. Were you holding out for a good one?
I have to admit that I did do Loch Gorman before, but it didn't attract any great notice at the time. And I think he was a half-brother to the Dam, and he wasn't much use. So we had to wait 5 years then before we could use the name again.
This lad is clearly much use. Both of his 2-year-old wins came on heavy ground, but there was a Group 1 he won in France on his last run as a 2-year-old.
Yeah. I have little doubt that when we see him on good ground, that he'll be way more effective.
And is he a miler? Is he going to be a middle distance horse? Do you know yet?
I'm fairly sure he'll be fairly effective at a mile, but I'm equally sure that he'll get 10 furlongs very well. and he could well line up for the Irish Derby.
But potentially he's exciting.
Oh yeah, you'd have to be excited by him, both by his looks and his ability.
Okay, one of the older horses we've seen this year is Parish Hall. He overcame, I think, a 19-month gap from his Dewhurst win to win the Alleged Stakes. Very good training performance, I think most will agree.
Well, when you have a horse with the ability that Parish Hall has, it makes the training a lot easier. Okay, we had his problems, but there again, I referred to my staff earlier on, and full credit to them. They put great work into getting him there, and that was half the battle, to get him through his illness and get him back fit again. And my end of it is easy. Is relatively easy. I just have to train him then after that. And with a horse of his ability, the job gets easier.
What happened to him that he didn't run as a 3-year-old?
Well, as you know, he was favourite for the Irish 2000 Guineas, and on the morning of the race he had a big swelling in a hind joint, and it got out of control very quickly. I mean, by that evening the swelling was up to his hock, and he didn't respond very well to the antibiotics that we used on him first. And the situation became quite serious, and I'd say in the end we were lucky to save him, that he was so ill for so long that it looked as if it could go anyway. But anyway, he survived, and it took a long time then for where the infection burst out, for that to heal up and to get him back to full strength and get his action back again, and it took the best part of 12 months. So he's done well to get himself as fit as he was for the Alleged Stakes at the Curragh, but that race would have brought him on a lot.
Now he's in the Moors Bridge at the Curragh in a couple of weeks. The Tattersalls, I'm sure he's entered in that, the Coronation Cup, he's entered at Sandown. Will he be ready enough to run in the Moors Bridge? Will he have come on enough?
Well, the only thing that could take him out of the Moors Bridge, well, there are two things that could take him out of it. One would be if the ground was very soft, and the second one would be if I considered that there wasn't enough time between the Moors Bridge and the Group 1, the Tattersalls. I might have second thoughts about it, but at the moment what I'm thinking of is the Moors Bridge and then the Tattersalls, and after that then maybe a trip to Royal Ascot.
Okay. Two of the other 4-year-olds, Light Heavy, who I think we saw work with Dawn Approach this morning,
yeah,
and Heavyweight. What's the latest on them?
Heavyweight has had a minor setback, but it's going to hold him up. I'd say you won't see him maybe for another 2 months. Light Heavy is in great form. He was in Dubai, got travel sickness when he arrived. Didn't really get him to where we needed to get him. But he did run a couple of times, didn't show much, but he's in terrific order at the moment. So I'll be looking for a race for him now over the next month or so.
And he was at the horse who, of course, won the 2 Derby trials at Leopardstown last season.
Yes, yeah, and ran third in the Derby.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think ran a good race in the Champion Stakes at Leopardstown. So he didn't do a lot wrong last year. Seems to have improved a lot now from 3 to 4. So he's a horse that could be quite successful as a 4-year-old.
Okay. Of your 3-year-old fillies, I've noticed, I think you've only one entered for Newmarket. Cintulla, she's still a maiden after 4 races. Clearly she's a little bit better than what she's shown.
Yes, she ran well in the mile there, finished second there. Then we took her to Newmarket. The ground was a bit on the soft side for her, probably shouldn't have run her there, but anyway, she ran an ordinary sort of race. She came back at Leopardstown a couple of weeks ago and would have run better than her finishing position of 4th. We were quite happy with that, and she's done well since, and I'm not quite sure where we'll go from here, whether it will be for a maiden race or to try her hand at something a bit more competitive. But she's going the right way anyway, and I'd say by the end of the year she'll be given a good account of herself. Okay.
And 2 of your 2-year-olds we've seen already, Saburo, who won the same maiden as Dawn Approach, and a newcomer by Intense Focus, who of course is one of the first season sires They both won their career debuts in the last few weeks.
Yes, yeah. Saburo is a very good type of horse, and I can see him taking his place, his chances at Ascot, and we'll see how he gets on from there. But he's a nice very nice prospect, and the Intense Focus horse from Leopardstown, I think he'd probably go on from there as well. He looks as if he could be beginning to grow now a bit at this stage, so mightn't get to be too hard on him. I hadn't intended running him so early, but he again is a very fresh sort, and we were just doing enough with him to keep his back down. Then we did a bit of work with him, and it seemed to go well. And then I said, we'll give him the run and see what happens. And he's certainly proved his battling qualities. So I'm not thinking of Ascot with him, but maybe something like the Futurity a bit later.
Okay, and obviously the fact Saburo won the same maiden as Dawn Approach, people are going to be jumping to conclusions. Might he follow a similar path?
Well, that's the plan at the moment now, that he'll go for those 2 races at Naas and then head to Ascot. So hopefully everything will go well with him in the meantime.
Now, we mentioned Intense Focus, of course. He's already had a winner in England as well, I heard you say earlier on.
Yeah.
He's obviously one of the new stallions that you've put your faith in, and Teofilo and New Approach have already proven their worth. These exciting new sires, you're obviously prepared to take a chance on horses that you know quite well from training them?
Yes, but the first 2 were no-brainers. They always looked like as if, they'd make sires, and I used those extensively, and that has paid off well. Intense Focus wouldn't have had quite the same profile, except that his performance in the Dewhurst was seriously good. He did a faster time there than Teofilo, New Approach or Nijinsky, so that has to count for something. And then he's by Giant's Causeway, and he's out of a mare with a pedigree by Danehill, and he has the looks, and he had the ability, so there was every chance that he'd make a good sire, and I think that's the way it's going to be.
And obviously it's very early in the season, but the 2 2-year-olds that we've mentioned, are they towards the top end of your better juveniles, or is the best still to come?
Well, there would be at the moment. Obviously, when a trainer has the number of 2-year-olds that I have, there'd be a lot of them that we wouldn't have pressed the button on yet, and we'd be hoping that as the season progresses and the 7 furlong and mile races kick in, that we could find something that was fairly useful. But I think in general that I have a good bunch of 2-year-olds for this year.
And would that be more or less than previous seasons?
Well, in the recent past, like with the 5 Dewhurst winners, you couldn't expect much more than that. But I'm hoping that there'll be something there this year that will give us a good run there anyway.
And on the breeding end of things, we obviously talked about Dawn Approach or New Approach and Teofilo. A few seasons ago, you were one of the first to put an awful lot of faith in Galileo, and that paid off.
It did, yeah. We obviously, like any breeder, we had some expensive misses with him as well, probably due to sending the wrong type of mare to him. But we definitely got plenty of value for what we spent on him, yeah.
You must learn an awful lot from, as you said, the bad decisions or the way it works out with breeding. I think it was at Legal Tycoon in the 80s was a sire who didn't really work out when people thought he was going to be a potential top sire.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that everybody thought that, but I thought that he'd do well anyway, and I sent a lot of mares to him. That's Last Tycoon. And being a Breeders' Cup winner and all of that, you'd expect that at a mile, you'd expect that he had a good shot at being a good sire, but it didn't turn out like that. But that's water under the bridge at this stage.
And you move on and you pay your money and you take your chance.
Yeah, manage to survive it.
And you've had so many great mares over the years, or great fillies, Finchgale Bio and Alexander Goldrun. Are we going to see progeny of them in your care?
Well, I think Aidan has colt by Galileo out of Alexander Gold Run. So I'm sure that he'll do a good job with him, and sure if he's good enough, he'll do the business. Finchgale Bio has a 2-year-old. I'm not filly by Sea the Stars, and I'm not sure who's training that. Okay. But she looked a very nice filly at the sale. She made 800 grand. So at that stage, she was looking a bit of a star. So whoever has her now would obviously be fairly optimistic that he has a real one.
And obviously we hear St. Frankel's been retired. I think that they're talking of sending Black Caviar to him. It doesn't always work out though when you get the top 3-year-old and the top colt and filly from that generation or from that season, and you put them together. It doesn't work out as maybe it should sometimes.
Well, sure, that's one of the imponderables in racing and breeding, that you just don't know what you're going to get, and whatever you do get, you have to put up with it. So, you know, I'm sure he'll be a top sire, but it won't be known for 4 or 5 years.
Is he a sire you're going to maybe put a little bit of faith in, or are you happy with what you have?
No, he's for the wealthy, you know. Right. As I do represent the poor in racing, I wouldn't be going there. But I'd love to, you know, first of all, to have a mare good enough to go and to be brave enough to do it. But I'm sure he'll be very successful without my support.